Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you all so much for joining. Sorry, we got 4 minutes late. So let's get started. Let's offer our prayers and then we'll go ahead. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ एव च पतितानां भावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। गुरुवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तदा कृष्ण कृष्ण भक्ताय नमो नमः। आनंद लीलामय विग्रहाय हेमावदिव्य छवि सुंदराय तस्मै महाप्रेम रसप्रदाय चैतन्य चंद्राय नमो नमस्तु। मुखं करोति वाचालं भंगं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरु दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य ईश्वरम्। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you once again for your very, very kind association. So we'll continue with our Bhakti Vaibhav, and right now we are in the chapter, first canto, chapter number 13, and this chapter and title is Dhritarashtra's. So we saw, just a quick recap, because we already did first 25 verses. We saw that how Mahatma Vidur, he came to Hastinapur after his long pilgrimage yatra. As soon as he returned to Hastinapur, he was very nicely welcomed by all the Hastinapur Vasis, that is Yudhishthir Maharaj, all the Pandavas, Kunti Maharani, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari. Everybody welcomed Vidur Maharaj Vidur, Mahatma Vidur very nicely. And it is being explained as if they have regained their consciousness. Their consciousness was lost for a very, very long time. And now they have regained their consciousness with the appearance of Mahatma Vidur coming back to Hastinapur. So he was very nicely, sumptuously fed and very nicely welcomed. And then there was a conversation that started between Maharaj Yudhishthir and Mahatma Vidur. The conversation started with recollecting the past times, that how Mahatma Vidur saved Maharaj Yudhishthir and all the other Pandavas, including Kunti Maharani, at every step of their life. And then Maharaj Yudhishthir glorified Mahatma Vidur, that how he has been gone to all the places of pilgrimage, and because he carries Krishna in his heart, Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani Swantastena Gadabhrata. So he turns all the holy places also into pilgrimage. So this way he glorifies Mahatma Vidur, and then he asks Mahatma Vidur about Dwarkavasis. Mahatma Vidur Kramanusar means on a chronological order explained everything, how he went to his pilgrimage yatra, whom he met, what he learned, but he didn't disclose about the annihilation of Yadus and Krishna and Balram winding up their pastimes and going back to their abode. So he didn't disclose because it is what was explained by Sutta Goswami that Vidura was very, very compassionate. And he said that because of his compassionate nature, he doesn't want to reveal this apriyam, this unpalatable and unbearable news to all the Pandavas because unnecessary that would have caused distress to their hearts. Such news come on its own accord, so why to unnecessary tell? Therefore, Vidur Maharaj didn't tell anything. But after that conversation, Vidur Maharaj stayed in Hastinapur. Again, the question may ask why? Because was he so much attached to the reception that he got? Because it was explained that he was treated as one of the demigod. So was he greedy of all that reception that he got? But answer is no. Because Mahatma Vidur was already, he has renounced everything. He has already detached everything. So definitely he didn't stay in Hastinapur for some more time just to receive those reception that he got. But he stayed to instruct Dhritarashtra. We want to benefit Dhritarashtra. And then, while discussing about the insurmountable time, then it has been explained that how Vidura chastises Dhritarashtra. So I think so. We have covered that section also last time. Preeti Vilasni Mataji must have covered. And how he started his conversation, that is very, very nice. He said, Dear Rajan. Now imagine, Dhritarashtra, he was no more a Rajan, he was no more a king, he lost everything. But still he addressed Dhritarashtra as Dear Rajan, means it was a sarcastic address. But as soon as he said, because Dhritarashtra has always had been always a king for Mahatma Vidur. He is used to address Dhritarashtra as Rajan, never as a brother, never as an elder brother, but always as a king. So he continued to call him as a king, but this time it was a sarcastic remark because Mahatma Vidur knew that Dhritarashtra has lost everything. But in spite of all that, calling him as Rajan, he chastises him and he says that yes, I've called you as a Rajan, but now you should get out. You should get out of this place. Why? Immediately you should get out. Just see, let's quickly read those because there's a very beautiful verses. Right, see. Vidurastat abhipritya Dhritarashtram abhashita Rajan. So he calls him Rajan. But he says that immediately, please get out of here immediately. Do not delay. See how fear has overtaken you. And then he said that it's a very another. He said that yes, see, Pitribhratar Suhit Putra Hatasta Vigatam Vayam. Your father, your brother, well-wishers and sons, they all have dead, they all have passed away. And you yourself has expended the major portion of life. Your body is now overtaken by invalidity, and still you are living. So he says you have been blind from birth. And recently, you have become hard of hearing. Your memory is shortened. Your intelligence is disturbed. Your teeth are loose. Your liver is defective. And you are coughing up mucus. So, this is the stage that we all experience. And even Sripad Shankaracharya also quotes this Angam Galitam Palitam Mundam Dashahinam Jatam Tundam Vriddho Yati Grihitva Dandam Itadaphi na Muchyata Shapi Pandam. So what he says, Angam Galitam. Your Anga means all the limbs of your body are weakened. They are Galitam, gal gaye hai sab. Head has turned gray. Mundam Palitam, your head has turned gray, means you have already got white hairs. All these are what? These are the indications that now you are approaching death, and death is inevitable. The mouth has become toothless. Jatham tundam, dashahinam jatham tundam. Your mouth has become toothless. It has no more teeth now. And that's what even Vidur Maharaj is saying. Vriddho yati grihitva dandam. And now you have become a vrid, you have become an old man, and you are walking with a stick now. You cannot walk on your two legs. You need a stick to support yourself to walk. So all these are symptoms of old age. That means now the death is approaching. And still, tadapi na muchata shapi pindam. Still, you don't get yourself liberated. You don't give up. What you don't give up? Na muchati. You don't give up. Asha pindam. You don't give up your hopes and desires. You still have longingness to live more and more. So this is how our Vidurji is now chastising Dhritarashtra. And he is saying that your intelligence is disturbed, your teeth are loose, your liver is defected, and you are coughing up mucus. But then he says, Bhima varjitam pindam adate graha palavat. This is a very strong statement where he says that you are just like a household dog, because everything is lost. You are no more a king, your sons are dead, you have lost this entire kingdom to Maharaj Yudhishthir. Maharaj Yudhishthir is now an emperor. And how you have so many hopes of living. Asha Pindam. You don't give up your hopes. You have so much hopes to continue your life. And thus you are living like a household dog, eating remnants of food given by Bhim Singh. Why especially Bhima? Because he's the one who killed all the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. So he says, Bhima varjitam pindam adate griha palavat. You are like a household dog who is surviving on the remnants that is given by Bhim Singh. What kind of life is this? Become detached now. Enough. You have got all the indications that now death is approaching. So please act fast. Immediately go out of this home. So this way he was chastising. He says there is no need to live a degraded life and subsist on the charity of those, especially those who you tried to kill them. You tried to poison them. You have insulted their married life. You have absurd their kingdom and wealth. And now you are living on their charity only. What is the use? Despite your unwillingness to die and your desire to live, even at the cost of honor and prestige, your miserly body will certainly dwindle and deteriorate like an old garment. So before it goes, don't be a kripana, don't be a miser. So before your life goes away, it's much better that you make the best use of your life. So today we'll start with 26th, because this chastisement of Vidur Maharaj will continue, and he is continuing. So this is text number 26. Gata swartham imam deham virakto mukta bandhana avijnata gatir jahyat savaidhira udarita. So now he is saying, Gata swartham imam deham. You have become a swarthi now. So now you should give up this body. Viraktu mukta bandhanam. Be indifferent towards all those attachments, towards all those possessions. And now it's the time that you have never utilized gata swartham imam deham, this deha, you have never utilized this properly. Why? Because you have been a selfish throughout your life. The whole life you were under your swarth. under your selfishness nature. Avijnata gatir jahyat. So avijnata means that unknown place, your unknown destination. So he says you should go to some unknown designation. Get yourself free from all kind of obligations. Go to that unknown destination. Sa vai dhira udharat, and become a dhira, and become a wise, become a sober person. So he said that actually he is called wise. That person, that devotee is called wise, who gives up this body by remembering Krishna. One should reject one's wealth, one's sons, and one should practice bhakti. So there is a stage. At certain stage, you worry about your possessions. At certain stage, you worry about your household things. You worry about your children, about your spouse. But after that, their stage comes where you should become a detached person. You should renounce everything. And that renunciation should not be a premature renunciation or some renunciation out of frustration. That is not is allowed. So he says, now it's enough. Gata swartha. You have been afflicted by this swarth nature, this selfishness, this lamentation that you have been lamenting throughout your life. But now you should give up. Give up everything and worship the Supreme Lord. Give up your wealth, give up your attachment. Go to a place where no one knows, because if you will tell them that I'm going somewhere, then naturally they will follow. Because Maharaj Yudhishthir is Ajat Shatru. He doesn't have enemy. He doesn't consider you as an enemy. He still considers as his uncle, because you are the one who has taken care of the Pandavas when they were very young. So Maharaj Yudhishthir, if you go and tell them that you are leaving, definitely he'll not let you go. But you should go yourself. You should give up. Go to that some holy place and worship Lord Shri Krishna. Go and with devotion means you should go. And that person is known as Dhira. Savai Dhira Udharata. Become a Dhira, become a sober person. So this way, Vidura continues his chastisement to Dhritarashtra. Somebody can read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. He is called undisturbed who goes to an unknown, remote place and freed from all obligation, quiet his material body when it has become useless.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So become an undisturbed person, become a Dhira. Now, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, he says in his purport, very beautifully, he starts with Narottam Das Thakur, who is a great devotee and Acharya of the Gaudiya Vaishnava, who has sung, my Lord, I have simply wasted my life. Having obtained this human body, I have neglected the worship of your Lordship, and therefore I have willingly drunk poison. So what is this verse? Anybody knows this verse? Yes, Sadamini Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Hori Hori Bifole Jonomo Guainu, Manusha Jonomo Paya, Radha Krishna Na Bhujiya, Janiya Shuniya Bish Khainu.
Very nice. It's a very one of the favorite bhajan of Srila Prabhupada also, where he says, Radha Krishna na bhajiya. Radha Krishna, if we have not worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead along with Srimati Radharani, Jani Shuniya Vish Khaya, Jan Bujkar hum poison kha lete hain. So I have willingly drunk poison. In other words, the human body is specially meant for cultivating knowledge of devotional service of the Lord. And without, life has become full of anxieties and miserable conditions. Life, this word anxiety will always be there because we are in this material world. But why not dovetail this anxiety towards the Supreme Lord? Get anxious to serve Supreme Lord. Get anxious to do something for Supreme Lord. But if those anxieties are only for the material world, then we are unnecessary wasting our life. Therefore, one who has spoiled his life without such cultural activities is advised to leave home without knowledge of friends and relatives, and thus be freed from all kind of obligations. But such renunciation should be a mature renunciation. We should not renounce all these things with out of some frustrations. That is not allowed. If somebody is frustrated of one's grahastha life because of the nature of the spouse or the nature of children, then that renunciation is not a good renunciation. Again, Prabhupada will say that actually it is okay to renounce at that stage also, but it is not recommended. The real renunciation is when you do it with knowledge of the Supreme Lord and you do it with devotion. Okay, so become a dhira. Dhira means one who is not disturbed, even when there is a sufficient provocation. Life will throw some provocations, but we have to really see those impediments as the stepping stone to success. We should not take those impediments as a failure, but to take those impediments as a stepping stone to your successful life. One cannot give up a comfortable life due to some affectionate relationship with wife and children. This line again reminds me of that how one cannot give up a comfortable life due to his affectionate relation with wife and children. So sometimes people, they normally ask that my spouse is not favorable to Krishna consciousness, so how should we lead a Krishna conscious life? Children are not supporting. So the answer is this, that we should be happy that it's a blessing in disguise. I know it's very hard if the spouses or the family is not supportive, then it's very hard to continue our Krishna consciousness. But imagine if everybody is supportive, then that affectionate ties will be much more stronger and it will be very hard to give up. On the other hand, if the family is not supportive, it's hard, but we can take it as a blessing because with that comes detachment. The classic example is of Maharaj Anga. When he got his son, King Vena, he was surprised. It comes in Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll see. He was literally surprised that how come the entire dynasty was very, very Krishna conscious, very, very devoted. He himself is a very good devotee. And how come he got this son as king, as Vena? Vena he got as a son. So, but at last he realized that actually, because my son doesn't listen to me and because he is a very cruel by nature, that gives him an opportunity to renounce everything. He handed over this entire kingdom, not handed over, I should say, but he actually left everything. He renounced everything and went in the forest. And because, as it's mentioned, right, avigna kathir chatyat. So when he renounced everything and left in the forest, and there was no one to take care of the kingdom. So this Vena was appointed as the king by the sages. And later, even the sages repented. And they killed King Vena. And then how, when his limbs, especially the arms, were churned, then Maharaj Prithu appeared. So anyways, this is how we should understand that one cannot give up a comfortable life, because more the life is comfortable, the more there is affection. That bond of affection is there towards one's family and children. So in point is that if you get a Krishna conscious family, be grateful. If you don't get Krishna conscious family, if your spouse or your family is not supporting, be more grateful. Be always grateful to Krishna, because Krishna has put us in certain circumstances. It is all for our benefit because he is Suvrit Sarva Bhutana. He is the well-wisher of everybody. Self-realization is obstructed by such undue affection for family, and if anyone is at all able to forget such a relation, he is undisturbed and he is known as Thira. This is, however, the path of renunciation based on frustrated life. But stabilization of such renunciation is possible only by the association of a bona fide saint. So, see, Prabhupada himself is saying, once you renounce your family life because they are not supportive, that renunciation, the basis of that renunciation is actually frustration. So Prabhupada says that's not good. That's not a good frustration. But the point is that if we do it under the association of some bona fide saints, then they will help us. They will turn our so-called renunciation into devotion. And that's all what we want. Then one can be engaged in the loving devotional service of the Lord. But if we renounce by our own whimsical thoughts, then and out of frustration, then it will lead us nowhere. It will lead us nowhere. Sincere surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is possible by awakening the transcendental sense of service. This is possible by the association of pure devotees of the Lord. Dhritarashtra was lucky enough to have a brother whose very association was a source of liberation for his frustrated life. So yes, even Dhritarashtra was frustrated. If he would have renounced on his own whimsical thoughts out of some frustration, definitely it would have led him nowhere. But because now he is being chastised by his brother, and that brother is a pure devotee of the Lord, therefore that has become a source of liberation. That will become, rather, we will see in the future verses, that it will become the source of liberation for this frustrated life that Dhritarashtra was leading. Yes, Praladananda Prabhu, please go ahead.
Dhanvatana Mataji.
Dhanavad.
Nartam Das Thakur also says, Golokera Pramadan Harinam Sankirtan Ratina Janmila Tene Kai Sansar Bisanale Dibanisi Hiajwale Juraite na koi upay. And then he gives the upay also. He
Yes.
says, Gruhe Thako Bande Thako Sada Hari Bole
Very nice.
So, practically for us to leave family and all material these things practically is very difficult, especially when things are conducive. But and so then we can practice Yukta Vairagya. Engage your wife and children in Hare Krishna, and use your money also. Pranayarthe diya vacha swayam asranam. So these are some of the practical kind of things we can do. Thanks for allowing me to share my.
Very true. Thank you, Prabhu. Griha thake, vane thake, wherever you are, whether you are a householder, whether you are a sannyasi, whether you are a renounced order of life, just glorify Lord Hari, sing about him and glorify him, chant his names and use all your possessions in his service. Thank you, Prabhu. So that is actually the ideal way of leading. But the point here that is being explained is that become a dhira, become a sober person. That's what Mahatma Vidur was telling to Dhritarashtra. Text 27. Yah swakat parato veha jata nirveda atmavan hridhi kritva harim gehat pravajretsa narottama. So now he's giving the definition of who is Narottama, who is the first class human being. So he is the first class who Yah swakat parato veha. Yah swakat means on your own. On your own, you realize that detachment is best and you get yourself detached from the family life. Or parato veha, or somebody else guides you. Somebody else gives you this knowledge. But the point is that you become indifferent. Jata nirveda atmavan, that you become indifferent to all your material attachment. Either by your own self, by your own awakening, sometimes it happens, or if you hear from someone that this material world is actually a futile place, and this place is dukkhalayam, this place is the place of miseries. Whether you know all this, whether you hear from somebody or on your own, but you have to become indifferent to material attachments. But only becoming indifferent to material attachment, become detached from all those material attachments won't help. That's not enough. After that, what you do? You just become detached and then you leave everything, and then some other provoking situation comes, and then again you become attached. So what is that kind of vairagya? That is Phalgu vairagya, right? Rupa Goswami explains in Nectar of Devotion. So that is not the true vairagya, because true vairagya doesn't get affected by any so-called provocations that comes in our life. So how is it possible? Then he explains, Hridhi kritva harim gehat, that you, after giving up your home, you should remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pravrajet sa narottama. And when somebody goes away from his home, but in renunciation, not only in renunciation, but devotion in renunciation, when that is there, then that person is known as Narottama, that is known as the first class devotee. So why he's saying this? Because he's first, in the previous verse, Mahatma Vidur is giving the definition of Dhira. But now he is giving the definition of Narottama, that you become a first, that is actually a first class devotee, that you remember Krishna. But we will see that Vidurji is saying that now it's not possible for you to become Narottama, because entire life Krishna was right in front of you, but you were not able to see Krishna. You just saw an ordinary person with some superhuman activities. You didn't realize that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You were so fortunate that entire life Krishna was right in front of you, but you didn't realize his potency. You just considered him some powerful person, some superhuman person who is doing those superhuman activities. So now giving up that devotion towards Krishna won't be possible. So you cannot become a Narottama, but at least become a Dhira, become a sober person, renounce everything and just go away, leave this life and better utilize this life. Otherwise, Jani Ashuniya Vishkhaya, otherwise you are committing spiritual suicide. So therefore, he is chastising in this way. Somebody can read translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. He is certainly a first class man who awakens and understands, either by himself or from others, the falsity and misery of this material world, and thus leaves home and depends fully on the personality of Godhead residing within his heart.
Thank you, Mataji. So this is how the Narottama, or the best kind of a person, is a person who prepares his life. That's why this Krishna consciousness is not of art of living, it is art of dying. It teaches us how to die, because every day we are dying. We don't know the next breath will come or not. We sleep in the night, we don't know whether we'll wake up in the morning or not. So at every second we are dying, the death is approaching. So the qualities are being described, that how a Narottama, a person, prepares his remedy before the old age comes. And that too by the instructions, especially taking the instructions of some bona fide saints. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in this context, he gives a very beautiful analogy. He says, just like a merchant heart is always towards money, always busy counting money. Just like a merchant is always, a Vaishya is always into money, because he's a businessman. So just as he counts his money and his thought and his consciousness is always on money, similarly, a devotee's heart is always towards the Lord. And when somebody's heart, and that devotee's heart is always towards the Lord, that day and night one is simply absorbed in the thoughts of the Lord, or how I can serve my Supreme Lord. If that thought is continued even in our dreams, then that person is known as Narottama. He is the best of men. Okay, so this is how Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, there are three kinds of transcendentalists. One is Dhira, who is not disturbed of being away from family association. Therefore, Mahatma Vidur is advising Dhritarashtra to become a Dhira. Get yourself away from all kind of family association. Another is a sannyasi, who is in the renounced order of life. But either that sannyasi can be by the knowledge he has got from his spiritual master or some frustrated sentiment. Either way, somebody can become a sannyasi, means accepting the renounced order of life. Both are okay, Prabhupada says. He is also a transcendentalist. Even if he has left, he has renounced out of frustration. Provided that after renouncing everything, he doesn't turn back and come back. Because if he comes back, then that's a fall down. So that is not allowed. But even if out of frustration somebody has renounced, it's okay, provided that after renouncing, no provoking situation can affect him and he stays under the guidance of some bona fide saint. But the third class of transcendentalist is the highest, that is a sincere devotee of the Lord, who awakens the supreme God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, by hearing and chanting and leaves home depending completely on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is known as completely dependent on the Supreme Lord. One of the limb of Sharanagati is also Gopipta Varane, that now my Supreme Lord is my only maintainer. He will maintain me. How he maintains, it's his responsibilities. So Prabhupada saying the idea is that the renounced order of life after a frustrated life of sentiment world may be the stepping stone to the path of self-realization. There is a big maybe. It's not always. Maybe that can become a stepping stone on the path of self-realization. But real perfection of the path of self-realization is attained when one is practiced to depend fully on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is what is known as Krishna Asakti. That is what is known as the Asakti, attachment. If that attachment is towards the home, that person is no more self-realized and cannot become a self-realized. But when that asakti is towards Krishna, fully dependent on Krishna, he is the one who's going to protect me. Fully depend on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One may live in the darkest jungle alone out of home, but a steadfast devotee knows very well that he is not alone. So again, as Prabhu has already mentioned, grihe thake, vane thake. Whether you are in Grahastha life or you are in the forest, just chant the name of Shiv Hari. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is with him, and he can protect his sincere devotees in any awkward circumstances. So this is the faith that a devotee possesses. And this is the promise that even Krishna gives. Kaunteya pratijani name bhakta pranashyati. That my devotee will never perish. One should therefore practice devotional service at home. It starts with home, by hearing, chanting his name, his qualities, his form, his pastimes, in association with pure devotees. And this practice will help us awaken the God consciousness. When somebody completely depends on the Supreme Lord, nor does the Lord give any direction to the persons who worship him for material gain. So if we are worshipping for some material gain, Krishna will still provide. He will give material gain to us. It's not that he will not give. But what will happen when we get that material gain? It's going to bind us more and more in this material world. So such materialistic devotees may be blessed by the Lord with some material benefits, but they cannot reach to the stage of Narottama, the first class devotee. Why? Because such material attachments will bind us further in this material world. It's not that Krishna will not fulfill. Akama, sarva kama, moksha kama, Dharati. Krishna himself says, whatever you have, at least you are coming to me. So that's good. Even if we have some desires, we don't have any desires, but we are approaching Krishna. Krishna will fulfill, but he'll fulfill with the mood with which we are approaching Lord Sri Krishna. If we are approaching for some material benefits, he will give, but it will come with a side effect. And that side effect will be that it will bind us further more into this material world. This is what is Maya. This is what is her thankless job, that she keeps us in this material world. But a first-class devotee will never ask anything. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundaram. Only I want your ahituki bhakti. Only I want your devotion. There are many examples of such sincere devotees in the history of the world, especially in India, and they are our guides on the path of self-realization. Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj. You name, there are so many, Prithu Maharaj. Whenever they have been given this kind of benediction by the Supreme Lord, they will only ask the association of the saintly people. What to talk about these great personalities? Even a demon named Vritrasura also prayed in the similar fashion. That I don't want anything, but I only want your devotion. Mahatma Vidur is one of such great devotee of the Lord, and we should all try to follow in his lotus footsteps for self-realization. This is what Prabhupada is saying. Text 28. Athadocim disham yatu swer ajnata gatir bhavan ito rikvak prayashakala pumsam guna vikarshana. Atho means therefore. Why therefore? Because he's saying that I told you who is Adhira, who is Narottama. So now therefore I am advising you. Uduchim disham, now you go towards north. Immediately leave this home, give up all your family affection, and you start walking north. Without swear ajnata gatir bhavan, and your gatir, you're going to some destination, should be unknown to all your relatives. Means without informing them, without letting them know, you should live, you should go there. Iti rek prayasha kala, because very soon Kali is approaching, Vamsan Guna Vikarshana, and in that age of Kali, all the good qualities will be finished. So right now, Mahatma Vidur is also telling Maharaj Dhritarashtra that Kali Yuga is soon approaching, and in Kali Yuga, what will happen? Everybody will become quarrelsome, the life will be shortened, they'll become lazy, right? Everything will be spoiled in Kali Yuga. All the good qualities will be diminished. So now it's the right time that you leave everything and start walking towards north. Somebody can read translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please therefore leave for the north immediately, without letting your relatives know, for soon that time will approach which will diminish the good qualities of man.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.
So now he's saying that without letting them know, don't tell your plans. Because if you tell them plans, then Maharaj Yudhishthir is very compassionate. He won't let you go. So don't tell anybody your plans and just leave. Prabhupada says, one can compassionate for a life of frustration of becoming a dhira or leaving home for good without communicating with relatives. And Vidura advised his elder brother to adopt this path. Sorry, not one can one can compensate for a life of frustration. So this is the compensation, that even when we are frustrated of our life, it's better to become a dhira, leave everything, adopt this way, because very soon, quickly, the age of Kali was approaching. A conditioned soul is already degraded by his material association. And still in the Kali Yuga, the good qualities of men will also deteriorate to the lowest standard. So therefore, he was advised that before Kali Yuga comes, you should leave home. to become Narottama or a first-class human being completely depending on the Supreme Lord is not possible for an ordinary man. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that a person who is completely relieved of all the sins of sinful acts cannot depend on the Supreme Lord. So Dhritarashtra was advised by Vidura that at least become a Dhira, at least renounce your family affection. In the beginning, if it were impossible for him to become a sannyasi or a Narottama. So 3 classes of transcendentalists, Prabhupada explained in the previous purport, that is Dhira, sannyasi and a devotee or a Narottama, first class devotee. So he says if not possible that you cannot become a sannyasi or a Narottama, then at least become a Dhira. A Dhira stage is attained after prolonged practice of yoga system. So that means now he is diverting Dhritarashtra to some yogic process. But by the grace of Vidura, one can attain the stage immediately simply by willing to adopt the means of a Dhira stage, which is actually the preparatory stage for the next 2 stages of accepting the sannyas, the renounced order of life, or the stage of Paramhamsa, becoming a first-class devotee. So one cannot immediately come to the level of sannyasi or a Paramhamsa, at least become a Dhira. One should practice from this stage and then progress in its life. And that's what Vidura is telling to Dhritarashtra, that you cannot become a Narottama, you cannot become a sannyasi, at least become a Dhira. So this is how now Sutta Goswami, this entire conversation is narrated by Srila Sutta Goswami to all the sages of Naimisharanya. So he's saying that this is how Sutta Goswami is saying that how Dhritarashtra was chastised by Vidura. So therefore he says, Evam Raja Vidurena Nujanen Pragnya Chakshur Bodhita Jameda Chitva Sweshu Sneha Pasha Dradami Dim No Nishchakrama Bhrate Sanda Shitatva. Means Evam Raja, this way, that Raja, that King Dhritarashtra, Viduranujena, whose younger brother, Vidura, who is Anujena, who is his Anuj of Maharaj Dhritarashtra, of King Dhritarashtra. Though he has lost that position of becoming a king, but still Sutta Goswami is also saying, Evam Raja, this way that Raja, that Dhritarashtra, who is Vidura Anujena, whose Anuj is Vidura, Pragna Chakshur Bodhita, his eyes, his chakshu were opened by whom? By his Anuj brother, by his younger brother, whose name was Vidura. He was the one who opened his eyes with knowledge. And that Raja, he is saying, Evam Raja, that Raja who is Ajameda. Ajameda means one who belongs to the dynasty of Ajameda dynasty. So we saw that how Ajameda was one of the king in that entire dynasty, and therefore that dynasty sometimes refers to Pururava or sometimes to as Kaurava dynasty. So now Sutta Goswami is calling him as Ajameda. Ajameda means this. The Dhritarashtra, who is the scion of the family of Ajameda. Prabhupada says, Chitva Sweshu Sneha Pasha. So break those ties. What those ties are? Sweshu Sneha Pasha. Those ties are family ties. Sneha Pash. That is, Pash means the ropes. But they are Sneha Pash. They are the ropes of attachment towards one's kinsmen, towards one's own family members. And how you have to break? Dradhadhina means with determination you have to break those ties. Nishchakarma bhrata sandarshitava, and this way leave home and set out, go yourself, go on the path of liberation. So this way, Suta Goswami is saying that how this way Dhritarashtra, who was born in that Ajamila dynasty, his eyes were opened. His eyes were opened by the knowledge, by the transcendental knowledge. By whom? By this younger brother Vidura, who has shown this path, who has enlightened this path for Dhritarashtra. How? By cutting the ropes of affection with determination and made him leave the house. So Suta Goswami is telling that this is how he was chastised, and not only chastised. He doesn't use the word chastise. He says he was enlightened by his brother Vidura, who showed him this path to renounce everything and cut the ropes of affection and finally think of one's liberation. Somebody can read the translation. Thus, somebody
Krishna.
can.
Hare Krishna. Thus, Maharaj Dhritarashtra, the scion of the family of Ajamida, firmly convinced by introspective knowledge, pradnya, broke at once the strong network of familial affection by his resolute determination. Thus, he immediately left home to set out on the path of liberation, as directed by his younger brother Vidura.
So break at once the strong network of familial affection. That has to be broken. We see even Kunti Maharani prays in the similar fashion. When she was very, very hesitant in sending Krishna to Dwarka, later she lamented and she said that unnecessary, I am getting too attached to the Pandavas, that I want you to stay here forever. But at the same time, I have affection to my brother also, Vasudev Maharaj. And so she said that break my ties for the Pandavas and break my familial affection towards the Dwarkas, Vasis, towards my family, towards Maharaj Vasudev. And Krishna says, why? Why you are saying this? Unnecessary, you want to become some impersonalist, that you don't want to get attached to anybody. And she said, no, it's not about them getting impersonalism, but it is because all these family ties are unnecessary, bonding me to this world, which I don't want. So let my mind run towards your lotus feet, just as Ganga runs towards ocean. Right? Just as Ganga Devi, all the rivers, they just don't worry about any kind of obstacles that comes on their path. They cross everything and they merge in that ocean. Similarly, she said that all these family ties, family affection has become those impediments in my life. And so break all those family ties so that my mind can run towards your lotus feet. Prabhupada writes that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the great preacher of the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam, has stressed the importance of association with sadhus. He said, even a moment's association of that pure devotee, one can achieve all perfection. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Kwe. Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha. Lava Matra, even a moment's association. Sarva Siddhi. One can achieve all perfection. So we are not ashamed to admit. Now here Prabhupada is referring to himself, not ashamed to admit this fact was experienced in our practical life. Were we not favored by his divine grace, Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj? See how Prabhupada is saying this. This is very, very important. Did he say just my Guru Maharaj? Or he said by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur? He is using proper honorifics. And he's saying his divine grace, Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami, and then Maharaj. So this is also the learning for us by Srila Prabhupada. that when we are saying the names of our acharyas, we don't have any eligibility to stand in front of them. We don't have any eligibility to read their books, to understand their books, to understand their realizations. And we call them as if they are our friends or they are our buddies. That should not be the case. That familiarity should not be there with the acharyas, because familiarity breeds contempt. So we should be very, very careful. And when we call out their names, proper honorifics should be placed properly before we call out their names. You must have come across many preachers, they just call Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or VCT or Baladev Vidya Bhushan. They don't even call out with some honorifics. So we should be very careful. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. So this is how we should call out their names with some honorifics, with some respect. And Prabhupada himself is teaching us. He's saying His Divine Grace, Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. By our first meeting for few minutes only, it would have been impossible for us to accept this mighty task of describing Srimad Bhagavatam in English. On his own, it was not possible. But because he came in contact with His Divine Grace, Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, therefore, Prabhupada is saying that I was able to do it. Without seeing him at that opportune moment, we could have become a great business magnate, but never would have been able to walk the path of liberation and be engaged in the factual service of the Lord under the instructions of His Divine Grace. And here is another practical example by the action of Vidura's association with Dhritarashtra. Maharaj Dhritarashtra was tightly bound in a network of material affinities, and he did everything in his power to achieve so-called success in his planned projects, but he didn't achieve. That's a different situation. So he was frustrated from the beginning to end. Now, despite of those failures, he achieved the greatest of all success of self-realization because of Vidur, because of the instructions of a pure devotee of the Lord. So the scriptures also says that one should associate with sadhus only, rejecting all others kinds of association. And by doing so, one will have ample opportunity to hear the sadhu. I don't remember the verse exactly. Maybe Prahladananda Prabhu can quote. But in 11th canto in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a definition that is given of a sadhu. That sadhu, one of the important definition of a sadhu, that he is always relying on Lord Shri Krishna. That's the greatest. All other definitions, that he is very perseverant, he is very tolerant, he is very humble, all these are okay. They are, of course, the good qualities, the godly qualities. But the best quality of a sadhu is that he is 100% relying on Krishna. Krishna Sakti hi unki jeevan hai. And that sadhu can cut the pieces of bonds of illusory affection in the material world, like our Srila Prabhupada. It is a fact that the material world is a great illusion because everything appears to be a tangible reality, but at the next moment evaporates like a dashing foam of the sea or a cloud in the sky. Very beautiful. Prabhupada gives this analogy. Let's read again. This material world is a great illusion. Of course, it's an illusion because everything appears to be a tangible reality. All dukh, all a sukh that we have to bear, it looks like that it is eternal. But next moment we realized that even the dukh is not eternal, and even the sukh that we experience, the happiness we experience, is also not eternal. And Prabhupada says it is like the dashing foam of the sea or a cloud in the sky. A cloud in the sky undoubtedly appears to be a reality. Of course, it's a reality because it rains. And due to rains, so many temporary green things also appear. But in the ultimate issue, everything disappears. The cloud disappears, the rain disappears, the green vegetation disappears. What stays? Only the sky stays. Sky remains. And the varieties of sky or luminaries that are there in the sky, they are there forever. Similarly, the absolute truth, which is compared to the sky, remains eternally. And the temporary cloud-like illusion, it comes and it goes away. Foolish living beings, they are attracted by this temporary cloud. But intelligent men are more concerned with the eternal sky with all its variegatedness. So beautiful, Prabhupada has mentioned this purport. We can literally memorize this purport and we can understand that that's why Bhagavad Gita says that this Prakriti, material world, is eternal, but it manifests and it gets unmanifested. So this is how it gives that manifestation of cloud, rains, green vegetation, but ultimately it's all illusion. It goes. It's not mithya, but it is temporary. It is fact. Of course, the clouds are there, rains are there, green vegetation is there. We see it with our eyes. Okay, it's there, but we have to understand that it's temporary. Similarly, all the happiness, all the sorrows, all the miseries that we experience it. We go through all those happiness, we go through all those sufferings, all those miseries. So how can we say that it is mithya or it is not factual? It is there, but we have to understand that it is temporary. Matra sparshastu kauntena sitosna sukha dukkada agama paino anityas. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says it is anitya, tamsta tikshva bharata. So therefore tolerate all those so-called happiness and of course the miseries. But understand that everything is anityam. What is nitya? Is you are nitya. Krishna is nitya. That is, we, the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, we are nityam. Supreme Lord is nityam. So we have to build that relationship with that Nityam, with that Sanatana, with that Supreme Lord. We should have our sambandha with them. All other things that we see in this world, that bind us in this world, is actually illusion, is actually unnecessary binding us. Like somebody can say, well, how can I understand that my family is illusion? Of course, our family is not illusion. I know that this person is my spouse or my children, my family members, my possession, my house. All these are there. How can I understand that it is mithya? It is not factual. It is true. I can see it with my eyes. Of course, they are not mithya. They are not something you can say is illusion because you see, you have those types. But we can understand that actually they all are temporary. Our spouse is spouse only for this life. Our children are children only for this life. Who knows who are there in next life, where we will go in the next life. So it's there for this life. And because it is there for this life, we should take it as it is. Okay, don't unnecessarily get attached to all the family members. Have affection, but no attachment. That is what Prabhupada is. Affection should be there. Of course, they are your family, they are your children. You should have affection. Take care of them as a devotee of Lord Shri Krishna. But the real attachment should only be towards Krishna. That asakti should be towards Krishna, not to those family things, family people, familial affection that's going to bind us in this material world, because they are not illusion as such, but they are temporary. They will come and they will go. I think so. Yes, Sadamini Mataji is saying affection without detachment and detachment without disgust. Well, thank you, Mataji. Yes, Praladhananda Prabhu, you got the verse?
No, I couldn't get that one, Mata. But this one about attachment to the family, this is said by Rusabdev Maharaj in the 5th canto. He said, Yeva Maise Kruta Sohrudartha, Janesu Dehambar Vartikesu, Gruhesu, Gruhesu Jaya Jarati Matsu Na Priti Yukta Yavad Artha Seloke. So he is staying with his wife and children, but he is na Priti Yukta. And how much priti? Yavad arvachil, as much as needed, like salt in the dal. This much attachment he has because he sees his wife as a spirit soul. He sees his children with spirit soul. And he understands, especially, at the far end of the hand of life, he knows that he has one day we have to separate. So he starts looking at the woman as wife as a spirit soul. Throughout, Krishna consciousness, he's training like that. So that's how he says, na priti yukta. Okay. How he's behaving with other people in general. Janesu, Dehambar Vartikesu, how he's behaving with them. And at Gruhe, with wife and children and money, how is it? As much as required. Right? Okay, these bills have to be paid. This is okay. He makes a irreversible family trust.
Right.
And arranges everything, and then he's not attached as much as he's attached to Bhagavad Gita. This is what practically I have learned from Radha Govind Swami Mata. Very well.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for quoting that beautiful verse by Rishabdev Maharaj. Definitely we'll cover it. Will come in our 5th canto. We'll cover those verses. But thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for quoting. Text 30. So now, after telling, Sutta Goswami is saying that how he left everything, right? He left everything by the order of his younger brother, Maharaj Vidur. So now, in text 30, he is now glorifying wife of Dhritarashtra, that is Gandhari. Patim prayantam subalasya putri prativrata chanujagama sadvi himalayanyastadanda praharsham manishvim eva sat samprahara. So now he's saying Patim, her husband. Whose husband? Subalasya putri, who was the daughter of King Subala. So Prayantam, while leaving home, her husband who was leaving home, that Subalasya Putri, the daughter of King Subala, Prativrata, who was very chaste to her husband, very devoted to her husband, and who was also a sadhavi, very, very chaste. Chanujagama also followed. Anugama means to go, to follow. Where she followed? Himalayan, walk towards north. That's what Vidur advised. So she also followed towards the Himalayan mountains. Nyasta Danda, one who has accepted the rod of the renounced order of life. Praharsham, Praharsham means who is the object of delight. Manasvinam, of the great fighters. Eva Satprama. So now here the analogy is given that how that Subalasya Putri, that Prativrata, that Sadhavi, that Gandhari, how she followed her husband, towards Himalayan. So it has been explained that it is for both. So word Nyasta Danda Praharsham. Praharsham means that in a very delightful way she followed. So it was not a forced action on her that she was supposed to follow her husband. She could stay, but still Praharsham, with some delight in her heart, she followed. She followed her husband. And this Praharsham, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, it is also for Dhritarashtra. That he also accepted this renounced order, Nyasta Danda. He also accepted this renounced order. Not an order as such, but that detachment towards the family. So he also accepted and walked towards Himalayan. And then the analogy is given, Manasvinam Eva, just like a great fighter, Sat Samprahara, accept the good lashing from the enemy. So this chaste wife of Dhritarashtra, who is the daughter of Subala, she had a very good qualities. and she was very dedicated to her husband. So therefore, she followed her to the Himalayas. And this following, it gives joy to her. And if we say it for Gandhari, then it gives joy to her. Why? Because she did it out of her own will. Nobody forced her. And it also refers to Dhritarashtra, who also got very delighted. Why? Because now he was enlightened by Vidur. So with great delight, he accepted this renunciation, this detachment. So he also accepted. So the Gandhari also took the challenge of leaving, and Dhritarashtra also took it as a challenge of leaving the house, just like the warrior who enjoys the good battle. So the warrior is happy if the opposite party is strong. Only then the warrior can show his dashing qualities. Right. So otherwise, if the opposite party is not that strong, then it's very easy to defeat the opposite party. So the warrior will not get a chance to show off his good qualities. So just as the warrior enjoy the good battle that comes from the opposite side, similarly, Gandhari also took this as a challenge. And Dhritarashtra also took it as a challenge because this gives joy to both of them. Okay, so we have to take it for both. So Nyasta Danda Praharsha. It is for both, for Gandhari also and for Dhritarashtra also. Somebody can read the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Right.
The gentle and chaste Gandhari, who was the daughter of King Subala of Kandahar or Gandhara, followed her husband, seeing that he was going to the Himalaya mountains, which are the delight of those who have accepted the staff of the renounced order, like fighters who have accepted a good lashing from the enemy. Next.
Thank you, Prabhupada. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, Saubalini or Gandhari was the daughter of King Subala, the wife of King Dhritarashtra. She was ideal as a wife devoted to her husband. Then Prabhupada talks about Lakshmi Devi, Lakshmi ji, who comes as Sita Devi, the daughter of Janak Maharaj, also followed her husband, Lord Ramachandra. Woman Gandhari could have remained at home or to her father's home. Nobody would have questioned her. But as a chaste and gentle lady, she followed her husband without consideration. Similarly, Sita Devi could have stayed. No need of going to forest. She was not exiled, but willingly she took it, that she, being a chaste woman, accepted the exile and followed her husband, Lord Ramachandra. So instructions for the renounced order life by Dhritarashtra by Vidura was given only for Dhritarashtra. But Gandhari was by the side of her husband. Nobody asked her to leave, but she followed him. Because at that time, fully determined like a great warrior who faces all kinds of danger in the battlefield. So she also followed her husband. Maharaj Dhritarashtra accepted this order of Vanaprastha. So this was the Vanaprastha stage. It was not a sannyasa stage. So what happens? A sannyasi is considered to be a dead man civilly. But a Vanaprastha, what happens? The wife is allowed to remain as a voluntary servitor. But in the sannyas order, no wife can stay with her former husband. Maharaj Dhritarashtra did not deny his faithful wife, and she followed her husband at her own risk. The sannyasis, they accept a rod as the sign of the renounced order of life. So there are two types of sannyasis, Ekadandi sannyasis and Tridanda sannyasis. Ekadandi sannyasis are Mayavadi sannyasis. Tridandi sannyasis are the Vaishnava sannyasis. The Mayavadi sannyasis, they are Ekadandi, but the Vaishnava sannyasis are Tridandi swamis or Goswamis. The Ekadandi sannyasis are mostly fond of the Himalayas, but the Vaishnava sannyasis, they are fond of Raj. Vrindavan or Puri Dham or Navadvip Dham. The Vaishnava sannyasis, they are Narottamas, whereas the Mayavadi sannyasis, they are Dhiras. So Maharaj Dhritarashtra said, was advised by Vidura, okay, if you cannot follow the Vaishnava sannyasi, you cannot become a Narottama, then at least become a Dhira. Advised to follow the Dhira because at that stage it was difficult for him to become a Narottama. So point is that even Gandhari followed. Now there is no mention about Kunti Maharani. Okay, so Maharani Kunti, she didn't go with both of them. It was only Dhritarashtra and Vidura and Gandhari. They all three walked towards the north. Text 31. Ajatashattu krita maitrotagnir viprannatva tilago bhumi rukmai graham pravishto guravandanaya na pashyat pitarau saubalimcha. Ajatashatru, our Yudhishthir Maharaj, he worshipped the demigods, he performed his daily sacrifice. He gave to Vipran, to Brahmanas, the tila, the sesame seed, the cows, earth. So he gave all the land and means as a donation. Rukmai means gold. He gave as a charity. So this is the daily thing for Maharaj Yudhishthir. After that, Griham Pravishto, he entered the palace to offer his obeisances to Guru Vandanaya. Guru Vandanaya doesn't refer only to your spiritual master, but Prabhupada says Guru Vandanaya means offering respect to the elderly members of the family. So he went to pay obeisances to Vidura, to Dhritarashtra, to Gandhari. Na chapaschat, but they didn't see. He didn't see them. Pittarau, he didn't see his uncles, Saubalimcha, and also the daughter of King Subala. So he didn't see his uncles. Pittarau refers to both Dhritarashtra and Vidura. He didn't see, when he went to pay obeisances to them, he didn't see both of them, and also he didn't see the daughter of King Subala, that is his aunt, that is Gandhari. He didn't see them. Translation, somebody can read.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Maharaj Yudhishthira, whose enemy was never born, performed his daily morning duties by praying, offering fire sacrifice to the sun god, and offering obeisances, grains, cows, land, and gold to the Brahmanas. He then entered the palace to pay respects to the elderly. However, he could not find his uncle or aunt, the daughter of King Shubala.
Thank you, Prabhu. Subalini, Subalim, Gandhari. He didn't see any one of them. Prabhupada writes that how Maharaj Yudhishthir daily performed his pious duties. As a householder, he used to rise up early in the morning, bathing, and then offering respect to the deities, offering prayers, then does some sacrifice, give charity to the Brahmanas, and finally he went and paid obeisances to all the elderly men. And that is as per the Shastras. Modern householders, they don't perform all this. They have tendency to rise late, take some bed tea without any sort of cleanliness, without any purificatory process, and thus what happens? The entire generation becomes polluted because children will see how their parents behave. So if the parents are not well behaved, if they have become lazy in their daily routine, then the children will also follow the same. Nothing good can be expected from them unless they associate from sadhus. Maharaj Yudhishthir, however, could not, and he was not like that. So, like Dhritarashtra, the materialistic person may take lessons from a sadhu like Vidura and be cleansed of their effects of modern life. Maharaj Yudhishthir, however, could not find his two uncles, that is Dhritarashtra and Vidura, and the chaste wife Gandhari, and he was anxious to see them, and therefore what he did, as soon as he went, he didn't see them, he asked Sanjaya, who was the private secretary of Dhritarashtra, the same Sanjaya who narrated this entire battle of Kurukshetra to Dhritarashtra Maharaj. Tatra Sanjayam Asinam Praprachhodvigna Manasah Gavalgane Karnastato Vriddho Hinasto Chanetrayo Tatra. So therefore Yudhishthir Maharaj went to Sanjay, went to Sanjaya. He turned to Sanjaya, who was sitting there, Asinam, who was sitting there only. Papricha, and he asked. How he asked? Udvigna manasa, with the mind full of anxiety, with an anxious mind. He asked, oh, where my parents have gone, where my uncle and aunt, I cannot see Vidura, where they have gone. So now he's saying Gavalgane, the son of Gavalgana. So that is Sanjaya. He's asking Sanjaya that, have you seen them? I am not able to see them. Where have they gone? So Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was full of anxiety, he turned to Sanjaya, who was sitting there, and said, oh Sanjaya, where is our uncle who is old and blind? So he's asking about his uncle and of course Gandhari. Ambacha hata putrartha pitravaka gata surhit api mai akrita pragne hata bandhu sabhareya asham samana shamalam gangayam dukhito patat. Okay, somebody can read the translation. These are simple verses, so we'll quickly go through.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hmm.
Go ahead, Master.
Okay, anybody?
Okay, I'll read. Where is my well-wisher, Uncle Vidura, and Mother Gandhari, who is very afflicted due to all her sons' demise? My uncle Dhritarashtra was also very mortified due to the death of all his sons and grandsons. Undoubtedly, I am very ungrateful. Did he therefore take my offenses very seriously and, along with his wife, drown himself in the Ganges? Hare Krishna.
So thank you, Mataji. So this is what Yudhishthir Maharaj is thinking. He is thinking because Dhritarashtra was also very mortified, and even Gandhari, she lost all her sons, and it is all because of me. So this is how Yudhishthir Maharaj is thinking, that I am very ungrateful. It was my duty to take care of them, but I have caused that serious offenses to their heart. And therefore, because of my offenses, they have drowned themselves in river Ganga. So again, Yudhishthir Maharaj is bringing himself in the picture and he's saying it is all because of me, all because of me. Now this quality also when we have is also not good. This also brings that inferiority complex that all this is happening is because of me. I am the root cause. That is also not good because that I factor is not supposed to be there. But later we'll see that even Yudhishthir Maharaj will be very well trained by Narad Muni because now he's thinking that it is because of me only that they have drowned themselves in the river Ganga. Prabhupada writes, the Pandavas, especially Maharaj Yudhishthir and Arjuna, anticipated the after effects of battle of Kurukshetra. And therefore Arjuna declined to execute the fighting. And we know that how badly he was chastised by Krishna. The fight was executed by the will of the Lord, but the effects of family agreement, as they had thought of it before, had come to be true. Maharaj Yudhishthir was always conscious of the great plight of his great uncle and aunt Gandhari, and therefore he took all possible care of them in their old age and aggrieved conditions. So when therefore he could not find them, naturally the doubt arose that because of him, they have drowned themselves in the water of Ganga. He thought himself ungrateful because when the Pandavas were fatherless, actually Maharaj Dhritarashtra has given them the royal facilities. And now they have killed all the sons of Dhritarashtra. So as a pious man, Yudhishthir Maharaj took into account all these unavoidable misdeeds and he never thought of the misdeeds of his uncle and company. Now this is very, very important that when somebody does something wrong to us, then also we should not develop that animosity towards them. And that is why, because Maharaj Yudhishthir, into his account all the unavoidable misdeeds, he never thought of the misdeeds of uncle and his company. He never thought that Maharaj Dhritarashtra did to them. He only thought that it is because of their own past misdeeds. So therefore, Yudhishthir Maharaj is regarded as Ajat Shatru. He doesn't have any enemy. Now, that doesn't mean that people don't envious Yudhishthir Maharaj. People may envy, but he doesn't envy anyone. Dhritarashtra had suffered the effects of his own misdeeds by the will of the Lord. But Maharaj Yudhishthir was thinking only of his unavoidable misdeeds. So this is the nature of a good man. A devotee never finds faults with others, but tries to find his own and thus rectify them as far as possible. This is the actual essence of this entire purpose. That a devotee never find fault with others. Even though somebody inflicts some pain, the devotee only thinks that it is my own karmic reactions. Others are mere an instrument in bringing my karmic reactions into picture. Okay. So, and then what they do? Tamstitikshva. They tolerate and they rectify them as far as possible. There's no purport, so we'll read this last verse and then we'll stop. Pitri uparhate pandav sarvanna sufridin shishun arakshatam vyasana taha pitravau kaugatau itaha. When my father Pandu fell down, and we were all small children, fell down means he left his world. These two uncles, that is Vidura and Dhritarashtra, they gave us protection from all kinds of calamities. They were always our well-wishers, Suhrida. They were always our good well-wishers. Alas, where they have gone from here. So now, Suta Maharaj means Suta Goswami will be continuing that this is how Yudhishthir Maharaj was feeling very despondent in his heart, that it is because of him that these two uncles, that is Dhritarashtra, Vidura, along with Gandhari, has left, and they both must have drowned themselves in river Ganga. So that is how Yudhishthir Maharaj is feeling, and he is questioning Sanjaya. So Suta Goswami is narrating, and then we'll see how Sanjaya replied. So we'll stop here because it's already 1.5 hours. So from text 35, we'll continue on Thursday. Thank you all so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's see if we have any quick questions, comments, any realizations.
Mataji, I have a question.
Mm.
What I know Ekadandi, what is three dandi? Is it like three dandas? I mean, could you explain? I don't
Yeah,
know.
Ekadanda Sannyasi is that they have only one, that I am Lord, means there is no difference between me and God. After leaving this body, I'll become God. So they carry only Ekadanda. But three Dandi sannyasis, that are the Vaishnava sannyasis, our Guru Vargas, they are all three Dandi sannyasis. Means they are, you see them carrying the sannyas. Have you ever seen a sannyasi carrying a sannyasa danda?
Yes. So, but it is one danda.
It's not one danda, it's three danda.
Okay.
It's three danda.
Okay.
It's
See, I
wrapped
didn't know
in
that.
the cloth.
Okay.
Wrapped
Thank
in
you
the
so much for clarifying.
Yeah, it's a three dandas. It's wrapped in one cloth, and that three danda refers to with their manas, with their mind, with their kaya, with their body, and with their vak, with their speech. They are 100% surrendered to the Supreme Lord. So every
So much.
danda refers to their surrenderance through their mana, through their kaya, and through their vak shakti, vachan.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, anything else? Chat. Proper. Aham Brahmasmi. Ekadandi. Yes, Tulsi Gopi Mataji saying, Aham Brahmasmi. I am God. That
Hare
should, I am the
Krishna.
same. Yes, Hare Krishna, Tulsi. How are you, Mataji?
Much better, thank you. Mataji, I had a question. Thank you very much for wonderful class, nice discussion points. Mataji, I was wondering, like, what took him so long? Like, all his life, Vidura was giving advice to Dhritarashtra, and he didn't take. And at the fag end, finally he took and left the house. So is there some explanation? How is it because now he had nothing to hold on to, his children
Now he
died?
has nothing to hold on. He was already frustrated with his life. So those instructions now could bring some transformation in the heart of Dhritarashtra. That's why Prabhupada says that sometimes frustration leads to renunciation, which is also okay, provided it is guided by some saintly person.
Okay.
Now he has nothing to hold on.
Yeah,
But
that's so
still,
sad.
he could have Asha Pedam. We are always inflicted by those hopes, those desires. But again, it was nothing to hold on, and thus he followed the instructions of Vidura. But the whole life, when he was instructed at that time, he had great desires because he was seeing Duryodhana, he was seeing his 100 sons around him. So he has full hope on them that they will protect, they will give him the kingdom, they will help him out. But actually, it's only Krishna. Right, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Wow, it's just in I was reflecting that in comparison to us, like if you see Dhruva or some those people, they only heard from their guru once or twice, and some of us we hear so much our guru's instructions in classes, and sometimes we are not able to do with that much force. So, like, what I'm wondering, like, I'm talking for myself, like, sometimes I'm able to, and sometimes I'm not able to, and what will it take for me to finally, like, do with that much vigor and force? Like, is it that more suffering or something else? Like, what would it for me to take to that degree and that seriousness, or I don't know, like sometimes I question that why it fluctuates. Sometimes I'm doing so nicely and sometimes it
So
drops.
Prabhupada has already answered, right? A comfortable life will not lead to self-realization. The more we are comfortable, the more we think that, oh, everything is going good, then we don't understand the urgency of Krishna consciousness. So I'll not say exactly the more sufferings, but internally, yes. The more such situations will come in your life when we understand that now I have no hope other than to surrender to Krishna. I'm done with everything. Then our surrender and transformation will happen. The more comfortable we are in our family, the more things go as per our own will. We will be doing devotional service. I'm not saying we will not, but that will not come from our heart. That will be a mechanical service. But when life throws some impediments, then we understand the futility of this world, the temporary nature of this world, and then we understand our eternal relationship with the Lord. Then we take up Krishna consciousness with much more urgency and enthusiasm.
Yes, Mataji, thank you. One more thing, I wanted to thank you. I was remembering I went for Kartik Yatra with my to Vrindavan for my Guru Maharaj's Yatra. And that few weeks ago in this class, you mentioned that how in Gopal Champu gives description of how Krishna went to Vrindavan. So in that week, I actually read that Uttar Bhag of Gopal Champu, and I was feeling so happy to read all that. And then when we went to the Yatra the next week, Maharaj, the first day of the class only, he spoke about Gopal Champu and that part of Krishna, Balram, and all that, visiting Vrindavan house. So I was remembering you and I was feeling so happy because when I read myself, it was good, but hearing from my Guru Maharaj's lotus mouth, it was so much more beautiful. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, Sindhu Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much for a wonderful, wonderful class as usual. I was actually correlating Vidura's discussion with Dhritarashtra and how Dhritarashtra could not listen before and now he's able to listen, right? I'm relating that to Arjuna and Krishna. Krishna did not speak immediately. He waited for him to surrender and to come to it. So my Shiksha Guru always says, it depends on the soul's journey, right? Where they are approaching them for Krishna consciousness. Also, when we invite them, sometimes you call them, they are in a very good status or whatever the situation is, they will not even give heed to it. Keep approaching. He says, don't give up. Keep approaching. Sometime in their life, they will listen. They will want to come. So it's the same instruction. It's the same information, but how the soul takes it, it is the journey of the soul. Even instructions from our gurus, right? We would have heard it so many times, nothing happens. But one day we hear, we are like, oh my God, that is so good, you know. Same you would have heard so many times, but that realization will not come. But 2-3 years later, when you hear the same thing, I think that realization comes. So I think when Tulsi Gopi Mataji was asking how Dhritarashtra did not hear, it is life situations, and we see even with Arjuna, if Krishna had given him immediately, I don't think so Arjuna could have taken it, right? He waited for him to speak and let out everything, and then finally when he said, I'm surrendering unto you, you tell me what I have to do, that's when Krishna spoke. So I was just correlating that.
And this is what is known as realization. This is what is realization. Till the time we are reading Bhagavad Gita, we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, it is only an information. But when we come across such situations in our life and apply those messages of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam in our life, then we realized knowledge comes. Then we realize that, yes, now I can speak with realization. When dukkha comes, and when some miseries, some comes, then with realized knowledge we say, Matra sparshastu kamthena sitosna sukha dukkada agama paino nityastam statikshvasa bharata. So till the time we don't ourselves realize, we take it as a shloka, we memorize it, we explain it. But when we realize this in our own life, then when we speak, then that is what is known as realized knowledge. So yes, as you said, that it's the journey of a soul. And that is what adds to our experience. The more we live in Krishna consciousness and more we experience those things in our life, that will bring the realizations to us. And then we can correlate it with Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sindhu Mataji. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Thank you, dear devotees. See you all on Thursday. And then we'll continue with our verses where Yudhishthir Maharaj is asking Sanjaya and how Sanjaya is replying, how Narad Muni comes in picture. We will see that on Thursday. So we'll stop here. Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhayeva patitanam bhavanebhyo Vaishnavaya Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, all assembled Vaishnavas ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Mataji ki jai.
Krishna.